Hi everyone,
Hi guys.
this is Timmy, this is Tolu, and Tim's at nursery today. Welcome back to KFL TV. As you know, yesterday was Children's Day, so today we decided to talk about, well, our first official topic is going to be about love and discipline.
Yes, love and discipline. Actually, the plan was that the first topic would be to define what a family is. As you know, the name of the page is Kingdom Family Life, and it's always good to sort of put definition on what a family is, or at least what our opinion or our impression of what a family is should be. But then again, we didn't want this page to be too official, if you know what I mean. And seeing as yesterday was Children's Day, before you know what, let's just delve straight into it. Let's talk about love and discipline. So this is gonna be a vlog about parenting, and seeing that we are new in this game, would more or less be sharing some of the things we do in order to discipline Tim when he is stepped a bit out of line. Um, so yeah, I think the first thing I would really want us to talk about is actually who is the disciplined one, me or you?
I'd say you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm disciplined, nothing goes. Anyway, yeah, I think I think I'm the disciplined person, and that's simply because, and this is nothing to do with the fact that maybe I'm a man or whatnot. I think largely it's partly the way I was brought up. My father is a disciplinarian, right? Yeah, he's so I think I sort of got that from him. Although I haven't said that I'm too extreme, so I could be very, very playful, sometimes overly playful. But so which means I could be very, very disciplined as well. But thankfully, I've got a lovely, quiet wife, quiet indeed, that would that is that is able to checkmate me and make sure that I don't overdo things. Again, um, parenting is a privilege. To have someone to call your own child is a privilege, and it's not something that there's no school for it. You sort of just have to try and do what you think is right, and pray to God to give you good guidance. Having said that, it's quite important that we discipline our kids, or and we correct them. And even if you look at it, some of your relationships, like friends, family members, people we love or people we claim to love, sometimes it could be difficult to tell them when they are stepping out of line. It could be difficult, but the real show of genuine love is being able to speak out, regardless of how hurtful or how painful it may be. And again, we see that time and time again when some people that, in our opinions, we think they are overly spoilt. Why are they overly spoilt? In most likely, it's because they've been shown the wrong kind of love, which is anything they want, they get. Sometimes they do stuff that are not quite right, and because of this so-called love, they are not being put in the right place and being corrected for it, and then it becomes a character that has developed over time and becomes difficult to change, and it becomes part and parcel of them. And even the Bible says in one of the posts today, Proverbs, yesterday I think it was Proverbs 3.
Verse 12.
Yeah, Proverbs 3 to verse 12, and I'll read that quickly. It says, "For the Lord corrects those he loves, just as a father corrects a child in whom he delights." So basically, what that's more or less saying to me is, if you really do love me, if I'm doing something wrong, then you correct me. If we really do love our kids, if they're doing something wrong, then we correct them. Now, don't get it twisted. We are all humans. Sometimes we think we're correcting because, in our opinion, there are certain things we think are right, but not quite. That's a different matter, because at the end of the day, I think, right, if we let God guide us, if we submit ourselves to discipline, and we genuinely seek what the truth is, we all know what is right from what is wrong. it's very important that when such things happen, then we should call it out in love. And one of the things that would be reoccurring, even as in this vlog, is something called motive. And we would visit that, every now and again. For example, what's your motive for starting a family? What's your motive for being with that person you are with? What's your motive for having a child? Some people have a child with a guy because they think, yeah, if I have a baby by him, he's stuck with me forever. Some people have a child because maybe they are career ladies and they believe once I have a baby, I don't need a guy. It's just going to be me and my child. Some people again have a child because because they're trying to be regular with their status here. The motive is quite important, because once you achieve a certain motive and there's, in quotes, a byproduct of whatever you've used to achieve that motive, then what's left for that thing? Remember, when Jesus was going into Jerusalem, he says, bring me that donkey. If anybody asks you, tell them the Lord had need of it. So after God rode that donkey into Jerusalem, motive has been achieved. So what happened? Exactly. So sometimes motive is very, very important. The motive we have in correcting will help us to either correct in love or correct out of spitefulness. Because again, as parents, you go out sometimes and you see kids getting smacked because they're doing the wrong thing. Sometimes it's not because they're doing the wrong thing. Sometimes it might just be because the parent is embarrassed that that child is doing what they're doing in public. So then, for that child to do that in public, they must have done it in private and they haven't been corrected. But because now they've done it in public and then the parent is embarrassed, and you would definitely see the viciousness. When you correct in love and you correct in spitefulness, there's always, you can just tell, there's always a difference. So motive is quite important when we are correcting our child. And we are not saying to balance it is not difficult. It is difficult. It is very difficult. And I think I'm in a place now where I personally am sort of able to manage it a bit with him when he's doing stuff and I can just, he's crying and I'm like, no, I won't say sorry to you because what you did was wrong. But again, it comes with knowing that I am coming from a place where I am trying to show you the right way. Because if it's a case of I just smacked him because, I was upset with him, I'm angry with him, then the motive is wrong. Am I actually genuinely trying to make him see that what he is doing is wrong fundamentally? Or am I just doing it from a place of, oh, don't go and embarrass me when we go outside, that kind of thing? Love and discipline, how do we balance that? What do you think?
Proverbs 22 verse 6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old he will not depart from it. So love and discipline, it starts from the very onset, so from when the child more or less has been born. Obviously, growing up in this sort of society, it's quite hard because social media also has a role to play in how our children behave, unfortunately. I mean, they have to go to school, we're not with them when they're at school, so we don't know what they see, we don't know not entirely sure the sort of people they hang around with. And that's why it's so important to obviously involve God along the journey from the onset. It's only God that that can help us and guide us through. Obviously, we as parents as well, we have that responsibility from the onset to guide and to lead our children in the right way. And it's so important to do the best that we can do when they're at home with us, when they're around us. So, the sort of music they listen to, the people they're friends with, correcting them out of love, like my husband said, and not out of being spiteful or just because you yourself as a parent, you're in a bad mood. And you find there's some parents that do that. They will just smack a child out of annoyance, out of frustration of, oh, maybe there's a bill that they were meant to pay. They don't have the money to pay that bill, and they'll just take the frustration out on the child, forgetting that it's not even the child that's the cause of the bill not being paid. You know, parenting it's a very challenging challenging journey to go through. I call it beautiful hard work because that's how it's sort of been for me anyway from the onset, and it's so important to get our priorities right. So you come across parents that they feel that if they need to work, yes, it's fine to go to work, obviously, because you need to put food on the table, you need to look after your family, but then do not neglect your role as a parent, because your parents need your children need you along the way. I mean, obviously by the time they go to uni, you're not going to be there. Whatever you have instilled in them from when they're very young is what's actually going to follow them right through to when they get to uni. And that's when you find out some children get to uni and they just go astray, literally from then. Even some, it starts as early as secondary school. So, you know, your child is meant to go to school. They go to school. They're meant to probably be home by a certain time. They're not home by a certain time because they're hanging around the wrong groups of people, or you're busy doing overtime at work because you're trying to put food on the table. That's fine, but you also need to remember that there needs to be a balance. So, you know, there's a place, there's a, how do I explain it? There's a difference. You've got a part of working and you've also got a part of being a parent. So for me, for example, now I work part-time, my husband does full-time, and where we have that balance is because I work part-time, I have more time to spend with Tim, and obviously when he has days off, he spends time with Tim, and then that way we've got that better balance of, rather than having both parents work full-time plus overtime and not having time for the child at all. How would that child grow in love? How would that child grow and love other people? How would that child grow and love his parents? You know, and the children of today, we need to create that balance where there is love and discipline, so that as they're growing up and they're going through the things of life, they're actually able to open up and tell you that, oh, there's things happening in school, mommy, daddy, or I'm getting bullied, or mommy, daddy, I have a friend that's trying to, you know, cage me into smoking. There's a lot as parents that we have to do, and obviously we can't do it by our own power or by our own strength. It takes the grace. It takes the grace of God, and I pray that God will help us.
Amen. And I think another thing that is worth mentioning, although I think this it's more or less become a cliche now, in terms of when you're parenting, it's very important. It's quite important actually that both parents have a unified stance at least in front of the child, so that the child wouldn't think, oh, if I go to dad, I wouldn't get this, but if I go to mom would bend the rules for me.
Yeah.
So we got even sometimes, and it's happened in the past where in my aim of disciplining Tim, I've overdone things, and Tammy would come to me, not in front of Tim, maybe when we're back in the room or when we're by ourselves, and she would say to me, listen, you know, I understand that what you did was wrong, I understand that you're trying to discipline, but you know what the way you reacted or the way you disciplined him is quite overboard. And sometimes I myself actually do know that it's quite overboard. And again, that is why we have to come to an understanding that there is no one size fits all. Like we were saying, and even if you look at it, most parents and parents that have more than one kid would agree today that you have more than one kids. It's the same, you bringing them up, but they all have different characteristics. Yes. They all have different characters. They all receive situations in different ways. So it's our job as parents to even balance that out, where the way you speak to A that he understands, he's not necessarily going to be understandable to B. And it's our job to be that flexible and adaptable, and not just say A is a good child because he always listens, but B is not a good child because B never listens. Perhaps you have not understood, or you have not taken time to find out how B receives information in order for you to adapt your parenting skills or your parenting style to that, so that they can receive exactly the same information. Remember, communication is not just you saying stuff and they're listening. Communication is not complete unless the recipient has received the information for what it is. So just because I'm saying to Tammy, for example, that I love you, yes, I love you could be information. Unless Tammy takes it and sees that I love you as I actually love her, then I have not communicated. It's just like the same way, I mean, coming from where I'm from Nigeria, right? Like I'll ask my mom certain times, and you'll be like, "Yeah, put it on my head," and it's a sarcastic statement. But would I actually physically put whatever is on her head? No, I wouldn't. But the information is put it on my head, you know. But to understand that, that is when communication is complete. So it is a tough job, and it's a tough job balancing love and discipline, you know. And that is why there has to be a checkmate. For example, and this is just between parents. I know for a fact, like Tim's grandparents, there are certain things that, in my opinion, they didn't accept for us as their child. But when Tim is doing it, it's like, don't touch him. You can't correct him. But we, as their own children, we didn't get that privilege. We didn't get that luxury of, no, you can do it. But Tim is doing it. But they'll tell us, he's only a baby. He's only a baby. He's only a baby. How do you manage that? How do you? And because don't forget, these are also our parents. So we have to obey them if we want him to obey us. So it is a tough job. Yes. But it is communication and understanding. I'm praying for God's guidance. Definitely. That, you know what, God help us to be able to bring this child up in the way you should be. So in conclusion, I think if you're going to take anything away from this video, the first thing is motive. Motive is quite important. Your motive for doing anything at all is very important. It's not just about bringing up a child. It's not like, what is your motive? Yeah. What is the motive? Why are you doing what you're doing? That's one. Two, it is very important that even though we love our kids, we love our children, we cannot afford not to discipline them. Yes. As a matter of fact, we should discipline them in love. The Bible makes it clear, teach a child in the way he should go, and he will not depart from it. He also made it clear when he says, it is the child the father loves that he corrects. Yeah. And there's actually, that's those two are Proverbs. There's actually another passage that you found actually.
Yeah, which is James 1 verse 5, which sort of gives us an overview, and it tells us that fair authority is wise and provides justice. Honest authority is transparent, it's clear, it shows how the rules have been broken and why discipline is needed. So I'll sort of take that a little bit away from parenthood and look at just the general society. So, you know, there are laws in place. If you do commit a crime, you probably go to jail for it, or you'll be fined for it. So there's always discipline that's needed when a rule has been broken.
And that's it. A standard is a standard. If child A does something that's run foul of the standard in the home, that child A would be punished in accordance to what the standard is. If child B does it, regardless of who child B is, child B should be punished. Yes. And that is the way yes, the children, our kids would have different strengths, different weaknesses. That is our job to manage those. But we cannot afford not to love them equally. I mean, one of our pastors, I really love when I saw a snippet of a video and she said something. She has 2 sons and she said she loves them equally, but for different reasons. And that, for me, was phenomenal. Yes. Because guess what? Child A might be a superstar in football, but child B is actually...
might be a child of languages.
There you go. You know? And both of them can actually both excel in those areas. A monkey would always be faster in climbing trees than a fish, but a monkey would never beat a fish in swimming. That is as simple as it is. So anyway, in conclusion, what's your motive? Love your child, discipline them in love, and create time for your kids. Please. And please, like we said in our initial introductory video, we don't know it all. We're here to learn from you guys as well. Please share your tip on how you discipline your child, on how you put checks and balances in place in order for you not to overdo things. And feedbacks are welcome.
Please send us emails.
Questions, and we'll obviously try our best to answer them, even if we have to consult more experienced parents. So thank you. Until next time.
Thank you.
KFL TV.
Bye.